Hi there, this is Ronnie Amber's Night coming at you with another video. This is a video response to the Gentleman Gamer and his video about video games being an inspiration for role-playing games, and I just want to throw in my tuppence. This is going to come from two angles. First of all, there's no doubt that video games have been an influence. You can see it. The most obvious example straight out the box right now is Dragon Age, which is a role-playing game that has been completely influenced by the video games of the same name. I've seen fan-made role-playing games based for things like the Elder Scrolls series, particularly Oblivion, Skyrim, also Mass Effect, of course, and there's no doubt, and I think the Gentleman Gamer does touch on this quite rightly, that there's a lot out there in video games that is inspirational and is interesting. Whether you could use the game for one shot or as an overriding campaign, I think that's more up for grabs. But certainly you can grab inspiration, you can grab maps. For myself, yes, I have used video games as an inspiration. But I have to go sort of way back because I'm a child of the sort of 80s and 90s, the 8-bit computers and the 16-bit computers. The two I owned was the Spectrum, the 48K Spectrum, and then I got the Commodore Amiga. And a few of the games have been an influence or are an influence. Recently, actually, I found some maps, official maps that came from various magazines of the time, or hand-drawn maps of various games for the Spectrum. 4 specifically. There's a 5th one, but I want to try and get a better version of it. And those are Attic Attack, Saberwolf, Nightlore, and Alienate. And for anyone who knows their history of games, they'll all know that they all came from the same company, which is Ultimate. And they were all sort of fun, arcadey adventure games. Nightlore and Alienate were 3D games, what we now call isometric. And they were great fun to play. And they started a whole genre because they were so successful, as is often the case. But I've got these maps and I'm going to use them. I'm very tempted to use them to run a game, particularly the Nightlore map, and use that to run a game because I just think that would be just incredibly silly. The one game that I definitely did use as a big influence for me was a game that I got on the Amiga called Cadaver, which was by the Bitmap Brothers, and that was an isometric action adventure as well, where you played a dwarf called Caradoc, who was going through this citadel, starting at the bottom level and then working his way up. And he just happened to be helping people and saving the world. What he was really there for was the money and looting the place. So it was kind of fun to see. But there's so many good sort of action adventure games out there. Voodoo Nightmare, which I really liked, has got a good advantage, a nice setting that I'd love to sort of take. Would I make them exactly like, or have I made them exactly like the games? No. There's been a bit of creative license used, just simply because all the players that I had knew the games, so I had to mix it up a little just to keep it interesting. Humorously, I wanted to do one based on Manic Miner, but I thought that was just getting too silly, and I sort of stopped myself from doing that one. Who knows? Maybe I'll get back to it. The one I really want to do, and I've considered it for a long time, is one based on the computer game Elite. Because I think Elite is a game that's just crying out for a scenario. I don't think there's enough there for a standalone system that could sell. You never know though. But used as a setting for a game, for a generic sci-fi system, and I've got a few generics. Although I'm almost tempted to wait to see what Savage Worlds Sci-Fi Companion looks like, because that might just be a very quick, simple solution. But that's one I want to do. But there's no doubt that video games inspire. There's no doubt about it. I think it's folly. I think, you know, we plagiarize just about anything and everything we can get our hands on. We plagiarize films, books. I made a scenario out of a bloody song that I'd heard from a band called Manowar called Defender. And I heard that song and it just inspired a game, and I ran it. It was a one shot, but you know, we take inspiration from whatever and use it, and why not if it's entertaining. I mean, I did get a hold of a PDF of the maps for the old dungeon game Eye of the Beholder. I'm kind of tempted to use that one. That would be quite fun to do. So yeah, I think if we're all honest, we've been influenced to some degree by video games, unless we've never touched a video game in our life, which, you know, in this day and age is not impossible but rare. Do I think video games have the depth and complexity and the scope of role-playing games? The answer is no. And it's not for the want of trying. You see some of these games and you think, wow, these guys have really went for it. But they are limited. They're limited by cost. They're limited by specifications for the machine that they're going to run it on. There are limits to what they can do. And I think as long as those limits exist, role-playing games will always have the edge. But I don't think there's anything wrong in nicking a plot, a map, and using it as the inspiration for a role-playing game session, as the start of a campaign. Yeah, why not? It's all good fun in the end of the day. You know, anyone who actually comes up with Super Mario Kart the RPG will probably get some strange looks, but, you know, something based even on something strange like Night Lore could make for a good dungeon crawl. So I say if people see a video game that inspires them, either the whole game, such as a Gentleman Gamer mentioned, running Resident Evil using All Flesh, or using the map, or using the starting point, or even the end point, the idea of, right, you've played the game, now what's next? I kind of like that idea. I think that's got legs, you know. You've finished Night Lore, now what? Here's the game starting, this is part 2. So, yeah, using video games, why not? It's all good to me.